I watched the show Altered Cavern. I loved it. Was tripping at the time. I thought it was how real life was for a little while. Got to check out the book. Okay, so the book is really intense and way more involved, and it's a series of novels. I absolutely loved both the series, the show series and the book series for different reasons. I thought both were very well done. That doesn't even cover the whole problem. Is mind transfer even possible? How can we be sure it's not just a pure, perfect copy of you and the original you is now dead? Oh, GPix, yeah. And if you like the idea of exploring that, then you should engage with the game Soma, because they talk about the challenges presented with data copying and data copying from a mind, and how data copying from a mind does not actually create a transfer. And the challenges and the weirdness and the ethical and moral quandaries are kind of explored in that, and it gets really interesting. So I really enjoyed Soma because of that, and at some point I'll probably play it again. I did one playthrough. It was great. The eternal tortured artist question: if I am no longer tortured, would I lose my inspiration? Such a common and toxic thought. I mean, we don't know the answer to any of these things, and it's the nature of being human. Our suffering is an inherent part of who we are. So if you remove our suffering and change our suffering to something else, will it change who we are fundamentally? And research suggests that the answer is yes. Soma is a very good game if you're into that stuff. Yeah, Torlak, I super enjoyed the game. I did get there was some points about the gameplay that I felt were frustrating that I did not like, but I would give it 4 out of 5 stars. I felt that the map was overly convoluted and overly labyrinthine for no good reason. I didn't feel like making it as convoluted to navigate from point A to point B was necessary. And I didn't feel that the clues to the puzzles was obvious and I didn't feel like it was really clear where I was supposed to go next. So I spent a lot of time in that game wandering around trying to figure out where I was supposed to be going and what I was supposed to be doing. So in that context, I found the game very frustrating. But the story to the game was amazing. The way that this story unfolded was beautifully done. The characters were amazingly developed. The plot was well thought out. Like, it was a masterpiece of story, and the horror aspects of the game were masterfully done. They had a good amount of suspense, they had a good amount of dread, they had a good amount of psychological horror, there were some jump scares. So I really felt like it was a good balance of different types of horror. So I really liked that too. There was even some body horror in it. I mean, it really embraced a lot of the different types of horror. So it was really good, rounded horror genre. Soma gave us a lot of material. It really did. There was a lot of clips from Soma, and when taken out of context, a lot of those clips, I just shake my head and go, "What do people think if they look at just my clips as an introduction to my channel?" Like, I look like a raving mad person. Oh my goodness. There's a lot of clips from Soma that I shake my head at and go, I need to give these context. I don't know why this is a thing. I need this to be context. Soma gave us Carl and the Carl curse for Super 2, right? The Carl curse. Yeah, so many games lean too heavily on jump scares for horror, and so Soma didn't have that problem. I agree. There were a lot of times when I knew where the game was going, and it created this sense of dread. Like, I think they intentionally made you know, and I'm not gonna get into detail. Thanks. I think that you had to be really not paying attention to the story at some points to not know what was coming. And it really played in on that dread where you're just like, oh, but, and yeah, people love playing the Scream because it usually makes me jump. I don't think that yet. So far, it has failed to make me jump. And part of it is because it's so loud. Like, I have these, mellow tunes going. We're just playing the lo-fi chill channel. So it's just got this vibing, it's chill. And then all of a sudden there's this loud, intense sound like right into my ear holes. And it's like, whoa. So even when it doesn't like actually jump me, it's still like this intense. And I probably make the same face either way. So, but I will say that 9 times out of 10, it absolutely jumps me. But I don't want to talk about like the story of Soma, because that I feel like for those people who have not had the pleasure of playing through or watching through the story, I would not want to take that. Right? Definitely some damage. I definitely wouldn't want to subtract from the experience. I think Soma is an amazing game. Highly recommend it to anybody who likes the horror genre and who likes story-driven games. Fantastic game. Well worth the playthrough. It was fantastic. Loved it so much. And yeah, it's definitely one that I'm going to play again, because I feel like, for one, I don't think that I got all the story nuggets that are kind of sprinkled through the game. It's kind of hard to do that anytime you go through a game the first time, to get all the little pieces. And the other thing is that now that I know the entirety of the story, I think that a second go through the story will give you a better and different context when you're seeing things in the beginning. That will make it a richer experience. So I definitely plan on going through that game again at some point. I don't know if I'll stream the second playthrough, but I definitely plan on playing it again. Even if you know where the ending is going, the writing was so good, it's still very effective. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and some of it is playing on this idea of dread, and I feel like dread is one of the most difficult human emotions to effectively use in storytelling, because dread requires that you know where the story is going, but that knowing that where it's going also generates a sense of fear and a sense of not wanting to turn the page. And yet you feel compelled to turn the page. You know, that is really difficult to pull off. It is really difficult to generate both that I know what's happening and that sense of like, oh my God, I don't want to see this. I don't want to see this. And yet feeling compelled to move forward. I think despair is also another one that's really difficult to pull off in stories, whether it's a video game, a novel, a movie. Yeah, that's another one that I think is a really difficult challenge. And I'm trying to think the name of the book that Dread was pulled off really well. The one with the blue triangles there, Miss Rach. Yes. The novel is called The Infected by Scott Sigler. It is absolutely a masterpiece of dread. The whole time that you are moving through the story, you know what's coming. It makes it very clear what this main character is going to be doing next, and yet the whole time you're just like, don't. I don't want to see that. I don't want to know that. Nope, don't do it. And I would highly suggest that if you're going to read this book, to do it as the audiobook experience. Having done both, I would say the audiobook experience is phenomenal. They did a fantastic job with all the like ambiance of it and the like sounds and like extra things and the way that it was read, the little clips and sounds and music and all that just augmented that whole emotional experience. It's the masterpiece of dread. I haven't experienced anything that has mastered the presentation of that as well. But yeah, it's hard. It's much easier to get people to just jump and startle and for them to be scared. And I think that most video games go for that type of horror. And I think that it's so overdone that it can often be tedious, and I don't tend to enjoy the jump scare games just because it's like, man, we've done this. And I don't in general tend to be a super jumpy person, so a lot of times the jump scares don't even get. Yeah, Torlock, when you do an audiobook, there's lots of different types of audiobooks. There's some that have outright radio plays that are considered audio plays. And they will have different voice actors for each character and for the narrator. And it will be acted out and played out in much the same fashion that a radio drama was. So audio plays is absolutely a thing. Some audiobooks are literally just narrated and are just a professional reading of the book. And then there's one that's kind of in between, and they're usually considered, they fall underneath a dramatic reading. And those are ones that have like sound effects, clips of music. Usually they'll have just one narrator, but sometimes they'll have a couple narrators for different actors, but usually it's just one narrator. But they don't go into the full dynamic production in the way that an audio play does. There's some audiobooks that really like get pretty intense and can be amazing. There's like an Aliens book as part of the Aliens world, you know, like the Xenomorph Aliens world that has an audio play that's really fabulous. The best audio experience, if I don't count metal, was always Christopher Lee reading Raven by A.E. Poe. I have not listened to that. But yeah, there's some people who just read, and when they read, they do so well that it just augments the experience so much better, because not all narrators are equal. How to make a terrible Gary's Mod horror map. 1, dark corridors. 2, spam jump scares. Yeah, ain't that the truth right there? And I think that the reason that I enjoy video games so much more than I enjoy movies is because video games remember to tell us a story. Movies have forgotten that they're supposed to be telling us a story, and they've gotten so focused on the visual effects and looking cool and looking dynamic and all of that they don't develop and flesh out and really like expand on a story. And it's just this superficial kind of flat storytelling in most video or film genre. So I've definitely gotten to where I appreciate video game storytelling more than I enjoy the film genre as a general rule. I adore reading. I try to read almost 50 new books a year. Last year I hit 83. Nice. Yeah, Maybear, I am part of Goodreads, and I do the reading challenge every year. And I will say the last several years, probably the last 4 or 5, I have really struggled to read any amount just because of where I'm at emotionally and psychologically. I've had a really difficult time with reading and focusing because it's a challenge for me to do reading. But before my stressors really kicked me in the butt, my average was usually around 50, and I would do the reading challenge at 50. So yeah, I absolutely love reading. And I have my Goodreads account shared in my Discord if you want to like see my reviews and the books that I'm reading and all of that. You can go check all that out. In my humble opinion, voice actors are underrated as a skill. Oh, absolutely, Torlak. I completely agree with that. Good voice actors are invisible. They immerse us and we forget that they exist. Like when you're watching animation and the voice actor is doing their job well, you literally forget that it's not the little cartoon talking to you. You forget that it's a person there. So unfortunately, yeah, I think that voice actors are very underrated, and it's way too bad. It's too sad because and people like think it's weird, but there are certain narrators in Goodreads that I follow because they're such good narrators that honestly, if they narrated a book and it wasn't my usual type of book, I would go and listen to it just because they narrated it. And I'm terrible with names, so I can't give you anybody off the top of my head. But the dude that does the majority of the narration for the Ender's Game series by Orson Scott Card is a phenomenally amazing narrator. And I really would probably just read anything that he narrated, even if it wasn't in my normal realm of reading. But yeah, there's some people that just really bring a story to life and really read in a way that you can clearly understand everything they're saying. They pace the story well. They, enunciate really well. They have a voice that's pleasant to listen to, because that's important if you're going to listen to them for hours. And yeah, they just bring the story to life because they can convey emotion through their voice, but not in a hammy way either. So yeah, there's definitely some narrators that just by far outshine the skill set of others. And I am struggle bus with narrating anything at that level. I'm doing well to read out loud and get it even remotely accurate. So it's also seems like a superpower to me. Like, to be able to do that. It's just amazing. I mean, that being said, that since I've been reading online and recording from written, pre-written stuff and have been doing it more and practicing more, it's amazing like how much my skill set has improved even over the last year that I've been doing a podcast. So it's just like anything else. Like if you don't do it, you don't know how to do it. And once you start doing it, you can expand on the skills, and it's kind of been interesting to see that. But I think that you also have to have a certain kind of voice. Like there's certain types of voices that are more appealing than other types of voices. And you have to have one of the voices that people just want to listen to. I mean, if you have a voice that's not fairly universally appealing to listen to, you're going to have a hard time selling a lot of copies of a 10-hour book. Because if people don't feel like your voice is relaxing, and if your voice isn't like, they're not going to want to listen to you for 10 hours. I think some of it is just genetic lottery. Like there's also this huge other skill set to it too. And then the voice actors that can do like characters and sound effects and like beatboxing and get into like some people are like, I don't even know. It's amazing what they can do with the vocal cords that I am doing well just to speak a language with. And they have become these like mimicry masters that can make themselves sound like other people and other creatures. And it's just wild. Definitely not a skill set that I excel in. I noticed that with nighttime stories, I like the old British guy. They make it sound like an old classic story from good old Pop. Yeah, I think that's a good point too, Games, that the style of the story, the content of the story, what I'm reading it for will definitely change like what kind of narrator I want. Absolutely. When I'm listening to something, reading it to relax and go to sleep, I would definitely want to have a voice that was more mellow and relaxing. And bedtime stories, you kind of want somebody who sounds more parental. I think I can totally agree with that. And as far as like what games I play in general, I play a lot of survival crafting games. Almost all of my games are games on Steam. The only game right now that I'm playing that is not a Steam game, and the only game I've ever played that's not a Steam game is, for my stream, is Minecraft. I try to keep my schedule posted out like a month ahead so people can kind of have an idea of what events are coming. But sometimes, you need to change last minute because life happens. But yeah, I try to do things out ahead. And sometimes I get through games faster or slower than anticipated, and Soma was like that. It took me quite a few hours more to get through that game than I thought it was going to. I ended up having to do a third night streaming that when I thought I would get through it in two. So that kind of stuff happens. And it was probably because I was getting lost all the time. And then there's other games like I'll probably keep streaming that one as long as people are interested in watching it, because the game content on that is enormous. It's not like I'm ever going to like reach the end of it. All the main quests, all the side quests, all the dungeoning that you can do, all the collecting that you could do, all the crafting you could. I mean, that game is just enormous. So I don't think that there's like really an end point to that kind of game. I mean, that's the whole point. And then on top of that, they're constantly putting new content out. So that one is going to be more, I'll probably keep playing that one as long as people are interested in watching me play it, and as long as people are showing up for the stream and are giving me feedback that it's a game they want to see me play, then that one will probably stay on the schedule. Grounded definitely has a finite beginning and end, so that one will be one that once I've worked through it, then we'll go to something else on the Tuesdays. So I try to have blocks while still having variety, if that makes sense. A little bit of mixture of like some variety and some consistency so that people kind of know what to expect and can kind of get into a groove of watching a thing, but also they can come here for variety of things too. And so far that seems to be working, and as long as that is working, we will keep doing it. And as always, you guys are welcome to make suggestions in the Discord and let me know what you think of like things like the schedule and the games that we're playing, and giving us feedback lets us know if we need to make changes or whether or not we should keep doing what we're doing. So I think my most unstructured nights are probably Sunday. We do host guest streamers. I'll invite streamers who have relevant experiences to come talk about things. Like we've had Skunkworks come and talk about their experience with being transgender. We've had Rygon Plays come and talk about their experience being both neurodivergent and a mental health worker. Otter was going to be today, but that didn't work out. So we'll try to get him scheduled for another day so that he can talk about his experiences with neurodivergency and but yeah, so I'll keep doing that. And if you have suggestions of streamers that you think would make a good guest, then that's definitely appreciated. And you can put that in the suggestions channel as well. And I can go check them out. Because I'm always looking for people to help us broaden our discussions and get other perspectives. Because yes, I live these things. I have, mental health disorder diagnosis. I have chronic illness. I am transgender. I, talk about my personal, things that are all within my personal experience. But the thing about all of these things is that they're complex and the experiences are very diverse. So by having other people come and talk about them, we can kind of explore some of the diversity of that experience. So let me know if there's any cool creators out there who we can invite to the channel that I should check out. Not to mention if they're cool creators, well, I would just want to check out their channels. So there's that. Because I am always looking for people who are streaming, who are supportive of diversity and are good vibes and, trying to promote wellness and, all those things. And you should definitely put it in the suggestions channel because I won't remember. My brain, man, I'm telling you. I feel like that's definitely a frustrating point for me is not being able to remember the names of things and suggestions that people make. And then an hour later be like, so they suggested a thing and not being able to remember what it was. What headset am I using? So I'm really terrible at remembering the names of all of my gear. All of my gear is from either Corsair or Elgato. I know the headset brand is Corsair, but if you want the specifics, it's down in my about page. You can look at the specs of all of my setup. And thank you, Miss Roch, because I am terrible at remembering the names of all the things. I will say that I really like this headset. They're super comfortable. They give you really good sound quality. They have a really nice sound cancellation effect. The other thing that I really like about them is that I have a small head and that many of the headsets that I buy are not made for people with small heads. So I find that the headset tends to sit too low and actually sits lower on my ears than they're supposed to. So it pushes uncomfortably against the actual ear. But these ones are designed for more adjustability, I feel like, than a lot of other headphones. But they definitely accommodate the fact that I have a smaller head. I often wear pediatric-sized hats or children-sized hats. So it can be a challenge for me to find headphones that are high quality and also small. And that's one of the things that I really like about these is that they actually sit on my head the way that they should, and they stay right over my ears. So I have been very excited to have them. They're amazingly good, and they so you have the opposite problem. You have a bigger head, so you also struggle sizing headsets. So I don't know if these would size up enough for you, but I will say that they do have a lot of adjustability to them, and that was one of the features that I really appreciated the most about them. Because previously I have gotten higher quality headphones and then I couldn't tolerate wearing them because they didn't sit over my ears. They would sit halfway into my ear. So the part that was supposed to cushion around your ear was on my ear. So it was ridiculously uncomfortable to have them on my head because they were too far down. And if I moved around too much, they would fall off because they wouldn't sit well. And these have a really good grip. They have a good, like, I don't know, texture on the top that really holds them. So yeah, I've really been enjoying and feeling like these are a really good quality of headset, and then they also like fit really well. I've been super pleased with them. I will say that that is something that has made me very happy while I've been streaming, is how much people have enjoyed my hats. Because I definitely make quirky hats, and I love my quirky hats, and have way more hats than I can reasonably say I need. So yeah, it's been nice to be able to say it's for work. I have been doing well. Things have been busy. There's been a lot of stress and transition, but given all of that, I think that things are going well. Still a lot of uncertainty, and well, I'm not as comfortable with uncertainty as I would like to be. I'm working on that too. Am I a Star Wars fan? Not particularly. I've definitely seen a lot of the Star Wars movies, and I have played like the Star Wars card game and played the Star Wars RPG, but I am not hardcore into the fandom by any means. I didn't dislike them either. I mean, I thought it's a good story, but I'm definitely wouldn't say that I was a fangirl of Star Wars. And do I have any Star Wars themed hats? No, I currently only make hats that are either patterns that I have purchased that give you consent to sell the finished product, so that you're not doing I don't know if it falls under copyright or not, but you're not infringing on this creative license. So I don't make things that are copying a copyrighted character. So I don't do any of the like fan hats, I guess they would be called. All I can think is fan fiction, but it's a hat, so that doesn't really fall under that umbrella. But that same idea. I try to be respectful of other people's copyrights and that kind of stuff. Yes, I crocheted all of the Yarncraft hats you will see in this stream. The fabric hats have been purchased. I think that there are four or five fabric hats, but the crocheted Yarncraft hats I have made. Oh, you also crochet? Woohoo! I love crochet. It's amazing. Have I ever played Microsoft Flight Simulator? No, I have not. You love the headset? Oh, thank you. Maybe Miss Rush can post it again, because we were literally just talking about them. This is a Corsair brand headset, and it is a really cool headset. I have really loved it. And you can get them in multiple different colors if this isn't your color. And it's like the keyboard matches. You can get a mouse that matches. You can get like a whole matching like setup. It's really cool, and I've been very, very pleased with that set. They are a very good product. And the keyboard lights up, so it has like and you can like kind of change the way that the pattern is and all that. So it's got a very nice kind of relaxing kind of vibe to it. So that's nice too. And it makes a nice sound, of all the random things to talk about for a keyboard. But I really like the sound that it makes. Oh dear, that I guess all depends on each person's preference. I personally play all my video games on the computer. Or occasionally I play on my Steam Deck. Once in a great while I play on a console, but I am going to say that 90% of my video game consumption is on a PC, on my laptop. Once in a while I'll play on my deck, and that's when I need to lay down, my pain levels are really high and I can't tolerate sitting up, or I'm just really tired but I can't sleep. It's really nice to be able to just lounge in bed and have my deck. So my deck is really super cool. I love having that. I mean, and there are some games that I think are easier to play with a controller for sure, but I have a controller that's completely compatible with my computer, so it's no different than playing on a console. You just pop out your controller, and like when I play Destroy All Humans, I play with a controller. It's wicked hard to control on a keyboard and mouse as far as I'm concerned, so I do that one with the controller. But there are other games that I think are easier to control with a keyboard and mouse, like 7 Days to Die. I do keyboard and mouse. I think that Don't Starve Together is easier with keyboard and mouse. So I like having that flexibility of how I control the game, which the computer offers me. I can kind of feel it out, and if I'm really having a hard time controlling the game, I can try the other method, go if, like, say I try keyboard and mouse and it's really awkward and I'm having a hard time controlling the game, I can go to the controller and see if it's better. Like when I first started playing Destroy All Humans, I started with a keyboard and mouse, and oh my goodness, I was struggle bus to get my character to go anywhere. I really found that awkward, and I was constantly pushing the wrong buttons and just running into things, and I don't know, I just really had a hard time with those controls. So I was able to just switch over to the controller, and there you go. So that's something that I like about the playing on the PC, is the option of some of the diversity. And I feel like there's more control diversity offered with a PC than with a console. Like there's a lot more different varieties of controllers. There's a lot of disability options for keyboards and controllers, more readily available for the PC than for consoles. And part of that's because consoles tend to be more, you got to buy our brand or it doesn't like match our shit. So I think that's one of the hurdles why you don't get as much of the other variety of stuff to be compatible with it. So I think that's a big part of why I personally like the PC.